Warning, the following program is rated 80s and will not be suitable for everyone. It will include time travel, inpatient psychiatric care, animal rights activists, violence, kidnapping, do-it-yourself switchblade dentistry, fascism, ableism, dystopia, spider swallowing, lions, giraffes, and bears, and elephants and monkeys, Philadelphia and Baltimore, graphic police brutality, delousing, bullying, overmedication, germ theory, paradoxes, colonics for everyone, a genetically engineered virus run amok resulting in the near extinction of the human race, Brad Pitt, Bruce Willis, religious extremists, homelessness, ineffective liberal jerk-offs, party crashing, field dressing, schizophrenia, a pimp, hourly hotels, robberies, phone beating, eco-terrorism, disguises, talking in a movie theater, attack birds, the elderly, zoo robbery, airport security, restroom assault, and Florida. Listener discretion is advised. And now, Rated 80s presents Comics on Film.
Drugs! What did they give you? Thorazine? Haldol? How much? How much? Learn your drugs. Know your doses. It's elementary.
I need to make a telephone call.
Telephone call? A telephone call? That's communication with the outside world. Doctor's discretion. Hey, all of these nuts could just make phone calls. It could spread. Insanity oozing through telephone cables, oozing to the ears of all these poor, sane people, infecting them. Wackos everywhere, plague of madness. Okay. Buy a lot of stuff. You're a good citizen. But if you don't buy a lot of stuff, if you don't, what are you then, I ask you? What? Mentally ill. Back, Jim, back. If you don't buy things, toilet paper, new cars, computerized blenders, electrically operated sexual devices, stereo systems with brain-implanted headphones, screwdrivers, miniature built-in radar devices, voice-activated computers.
Take it easy, Jeffrey. Be calm.
All right, coming at you almost live from the hilltop of the gritty city, presented in glorious 2.53 Mookie Vision from beneath the effervescent glow of the Shackleford diffuser. It's Rated 80s presents Comics on Film, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Mr. Jeremy Whitman, and with me, as always, is my co-host, the world's original switchblade dentist, Rusty Shackleford. How you doing, Rusty?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good. The switchblade dentist.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just dig out my teeth with a.
I was
knife.
thinking like, no, not. I didn't say do-it-yourself dentist like I said in the opening drop.
Oh,
I was
do it
like,
to other people.
yeah, I could handle that for you.
That makes
And
sense.
then before they can say anything, yeah, switchblade. It was a butterfly knife at first, but then you went to Oregon and bought a switchblade.
Have you ever had a switchblade?
No.
Oh. You played with one?
I had as a kid one of those things that looked like a switchblade, but it was a comb.
Oh well, yeah.
Flip open
Everybody
to a
had
comb.
one of those.
Yeah.
Saved enough Chuck E. Cheese tickets.
Now you try and board an airplane with that. 40 National Guard members get on your case and kill you. This episode is the Terry Gilliam classic about zoology, time travel, plague of madness.
Biology.
Yeah, schizophrenia.
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
All that stuff you listed.
Yeah. Bruce Willis head wounds. This movie was inspired by your sunburn. This movie pick.
I don't
So
want
you
to
got
talk about it.
yeah, you got a little looks like radiation poisoning
It
going
hurts.
on the top of your dome there.
It hurt. I worked
Yeah.
all day. Except it's weird because it's only like a 50-cent piece on my head. My whole head was exposed to the sun, but it's just
That would be an
one
awesome
spot that
podcast if you brought in 50 Cent writing your skull.
50-cent piece.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just a piece of 50 Cent?
Just-
Bring his head.
I'll just
Bring me the head of 50 Cent, I
I'll
say.
just bring his foreskin in.
Mhm.
I don't know why I would have his foreskin.
I don't know
I don't
why.
actually have
Yeah.
it. Don't let that get
I don't know
out.
how
I don't
prevalent
have
that is anymore. Like, do we know? Do any of you know at home, listeners? Maybe you could help solve this mystery. Is 50 Cent circumcised or not?
I don't really need to know that, actually.
Why, you brought it up. Don't.
I didn't mean
now
to.
you're
It was
giving me
just
the-
something funny to
Yeah.
say. We can keep moving.
Yeah?
When was the first time you saw this movie?
This must have been one of the HBO deals. I definitely did not see it in the theater, but back in the day, we've talked about I used to have all the cable.
Yeah.
All the cable all the time. HBO, Skinamax, Showtime.
So we were teenagers when this came out, though.
So 96, yeah.
95, yeah. 95, 96.
Yeah. Actually, it's a year before the apocalypse in the film.
Yeah.
Because the apocalypse in the film takes place in 1996.
Yeah.
And I was reading the Wikipedia article on the film, and it goes, and they made sure to use all pre-1996 technology. I was like, that was really cool. This must have been made in like 2002. Maybe that was kind of hard.
Yeah.
No, it was finished in 1995 and then released in 19. Of course, they used all pre-1996 tech. They didn't go to the future to build. That's not how movies work.
You never know. They could have reverse engineered their whole time travel thing, and no.
Yeah,
that
let's not
didn't
get
go
into
anywhere.
that.
Yeah.
Sorry. So this is an amazing movie by a guy from Monty Python.
Yeah.
It's a python. He's the only American python.
Was he actually in it? Oh yeah, he's a comic. Yeah, Terry Gilliam.
Terry Gilliam. He was an
Yeah.
animator. He is from the West Coast, I believe, growing up. He was an animator for Monty Python because he decided to go to England because it was the 60s. He had long hair. He was driving like a really weird car, and the cops kept grabbing him, slamming up against the wall, going, "Hey, hippie, fuck you!" And he'd get in arguments with him, like, fuck you, man. I'm in advertising. I make more money than you. And then it was back then they just kicked the shit out of you. Or if you're a college student, shoot you.
I'm betting if he was an artist in the 60s, I'm betting he went for Geiger.
Geiger?
Yeah. So many artists in the 60s.
Well, you've
moved
seen
to
Monty
England.
Python. He did all the animations in between, the foot coming down and the Renaissance paintings
That's
and
close
stuff
to
like
H.R.
that.
Geiger, right?
Yeah, it's nothing like
No.
H.R. Geiger.
I know, but a buttload of people, once he started coming out, because he got big because of posters.
Mm-hmm.
He started doing these amazing posters. So a bunch of artists in the 60s moved.
Have we talked about the documentary about him that's on? It was on Netflix for a while.
I think one of the podcasts ago we talked about how we liked it. I mean, it's amazing.
It's a great documentary,
it's so fucking rad.
Yeah.
I want to go to the Geiger bar.
Passed away like 2 days after the movie was made.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of a bummer. But yeah, he's an amazing artist,
Yeah.
Geiger. This guy's an amazing artist, too.
Oh, yeah.
In different ways. So he's not on screen as a python a lot.
No.
And a lot of people, one thing I really like about him is he's a comic who does other things that are not just acting and comedy. He's a very good director,
Yeah.
which you don't see often. But a lot of times people are like, oh, you're a stand-up comedian. That's it. You're one-trick pony. That's all the depth you got to your life, You're probably one of those guys who does really bad puns to annoy people because you're like a hipster now. Like, no, I like to think of comedy as something I do in addition to being me, not as something that defines me. All right? So don't not date me on Tinder because I'm a stand-up comedian. Those happen to be the only photos I have of myself that are good. All right? Like, okay? It doesn't define me, audience. You don't need to date me on Tinder. Just email me, jeremywhitman@gmail.com.
Hey, look,
just straight up, hit me up.
It absolutely defines me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What did I do before comedy?
Hmm?
Fucking jack shit.
Probably
didn't do a
listen to
goddamn
5 or
thing.
6 people say you should be a comedian.
No, nobody ever told
Nobody
me I
ever
should have
told
been.
you?
Never.
Oh.
Nope, it wasn't on my list. It wasn't like I heard it in passing that you can go to an open mic, so I just called Fred, asked Fred if he had ever thought about being a comic. Fred, on the other hand, was like, I've thought about doing it every day of my life.
Well, that's because he has actually the name of a very famous comic. People are like, are you that? Beep, beep. I'm not going to say his name. But so, of course you would think about, if my name was Chris Rock, I'd have thought about it a lot, too.
But he'd always
I'd be
wanted
like,
to do
damn, that's a good name for a white boy. Chris Rock.
I just fell
couldn't get
into
away
it.
with that.
No.
No.
I'm sure there's bound to be a white
Kyle
Chris Rock.
or Chad Rock.
There has to be a white Chris Rock somewhere out there. There's bound to be. Or Rockefeller. Chris Rockefeller. Then he's white.
So this film, it's kind of a departure from the regular Bruce Willising that we always see, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got, some violence in it. But Bruce Willis brings more to the game than violence. If Bruce Willis only brought, being an action star to the game, he probably wouldn't be around anymore. Because he's not, like, huge physically like a Vin Diesel or an Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's in
like
shape. He's always been in pretty good shape.
He's like an everyman, but, like, he looks like...
He's got a lot
like
of
it'd be
character.
your uncle or your stepdad fixing shit in the garage. That's what he always kind of looked like to me.
He's got a fairly interesting face, but he's not like, back in the 80s, to be an action star, you had to be a big slab of beef running around.
Yeah.
And luckily he already was an actor. He was on Moonlighting and stuff like that in the 80s. But he brought a little bit more to the game than perhaps a Schwarzenegger could present through that accent. With Die Hard was just a phenomenal movie. We have a great episode about Die Hard. Y'all should go check it out at Rated80s.com. It's wonderful. And then Cop Out.
I liked it.
I've never seen it.
I know. A lot of people didn't like it. This is Kevin Smith. I give him mad props for that. dealing with it and everything.
Kevin Smith or Bruce Willis?
Well, Kevin
or...
Smith directed it.
I give Bruce Willis mad props for not hunting down and killing Kevin Smith because he's like breaking rule number 1, right? Like snitches get stitches, all right?
That is
like
true.
You're supposed to.
That is
It's
true.
getting harder in this multimedia world to be a complete asshole and still get away with it. But assuming that Kevin Smith is right, that Bruce Willis was a total douche, that whole shoot.
It's not.
You're
like,
not supposed to talk about it, and you're not supposed to make your career about talking about that behind a microphone at college campuses and writing chapters in your
but
books and
here's
stuff.
the thing: if snitches get stitches, we would have no comedians.
Hmm?
Like
What do
we
you
would
mean?
all be fucking dead. Like how many of your stories are true?
Did I say on stage?
Yeah.
I would say all but 2 of them.
Okay. And how many times do you kind of narc out people?
It's
your
an interesting
jokes.
thing. I could have a much better act if I was willing to throw more people in my personal life under a bus. I don't really. It's usually about
That's
me,
why
though.
I'm funnier.
Yeah?
No. Yeah, I don't mind throwing people under the. Well, I don't say who they are. I give a situation, previous girlfriends or stuff like that. I don't.
You
like
anonymize
use
it a
names.
little bit, yeah.
There was
But,
one name I used to use, but I stopped.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like, that's kind of mean.
Who was it?
I'm not saying.
Oh, I thought, okay. Damn
I'm
it.
gonna be nicer.
Didn't feed you enough vodka before the show to get that out of you.
We're not drunk. I don't know what you're talking
Mhm.
about.
No. We never drink on air.
Never.
No.
Um,
Drink out of bottles. We drink intravenously, actually.
I remember watching this when I was younger and loving the shit out of this movie, like hands down.
Mhm.
It's so. I don't even know how to explain it. It's very different than every time traveling movie we've had up until 95. What have they been? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, a lot of
You got Bill and
robots
Ted.
coming
Robots,
back. Yeah,
yeah.
phone booths,
Yeah.
robots, DeLoreans. Those are the 3 big ones. Are there other? I'm sure someone sitting at home, they're like,
Who's
what
losing
about
their
there was a
fucking mind?
Doctor
Time
Who
Bandits.
movie made by the BBC? You know what? I don't
Time
care.
Bandits, but I don't think they really. Star Trek. They travel back in time to save the whales.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And for some reason, people love that Star Trek.
It's cute and endearing. It's just that's the only reason. It's kind of a shit movie, but the
It's-
whole eco everything in the when it first
It's
Greenpeace
kind of
started
like
kicking off.
it's kind of like
and-
the Roadhouse of Star Trek to me. Like, if it didn't have the people it has in it, I don't think that one would have really taken off. If that was just a rando sci-fi movie and it wasn't Star Trek,
Oh yeah, no fucking
and someone
way.
managed to get that
Nope.
past the studio system, where he's like going into meetings, like, yeah, we have a bunch of people in space and Earth is getting bombarded
Yeah.
by a thing that's going to destroy it, so they go back in time and get whales. Like, get out of here, you hippie! Go drink your wheatgrass milkshake and fuck off.
That one wouldn't work, but if you put The Wrath of Khan, like if you took the Star Trek out of Wrath of Khan and just
I think
that
Wrath
whole-
of Khan, actually, this might get us into some trouble with our many, many rabid Star Trek fans that listen to the show. I think if Wrath of Khan was not a Star Trek movie, it would be a better movie. If it was just a random one-off sci-fi
okay, but
thing,
it would be a great fucking movie. Was
yeah,
my
but it
point.
wouldn't be saddled with that William Shatner.
And one-off sci-fis don't really work that well.
Not
You need-
anymore.
Well, when did they?
Hmm?
I mean, Metropolis way, way, way back. No.
Star Wars was a one-off sci-fi when it originally happened. They
All right,
were
yeah.
not. Everything was
Why
a
you
one-off.
gotta bring up the holiness of Star Wars to trump
Uh-huh.
my theory, you
Well,
bastard?
I'm saying like everything eventually
mean-
was a one-off thing.
Do you think Star Wars ended without a sequel in mind? I mean, I know it did.
It just barely had the inkling because he was really like, no one understood it, right? When he sold it, nobody understood the idea of Star Wars, but they're like, whatever, American Graffiti made some money. We'll
But
let
here's the
you-
thing, it's
we'll
not
let
like
you do it.
He didn't get Vader in the end. You know
Right,
what I mean?
that's
It's
the
not like
only. So it.
that's a big fucking plot hole. He had
It's not a
plans.
plot hole. It's like if this movie works, I'm pretty sure everyone's on record as saying like we have no idea if this movie's gonna work, but
Yeah.
if it works, let's not kill Darth Vader. So that's why he goes spinning off into space just in case. They didn't have any
Alright.
grand plans. They didn't know they were going to do the crawl in the second. In Empire Strikes Back, they did not know if they were going to do the crawl of the,
The words
a
No,
long
it's
time
just
ago
a
into a
staple.
galaxy. Yeah, it was just going to
But-
be another episode. Maybe they didn't know.
But name another like one-off sci-fi film. There's not many. Like they turn into sequels.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
they-
Well, that everything gets to be a sequel now, even if it shouldn't. Forrest Gump never got a sequel because the guy who wrote Forrest Gump, the novel, felt so ripped off.
And the second book is way dirtier and wrong. Like,
Have you
it's-
read the books?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
know that the first book is obviously it
A
made a
lot
lot of
fouler.
money as a movie, but it's so, and he like flies to the moon with a chimp or something, and
Mhm.
it's like this craziness.
It's like a lot of they based it more in
They
the movie
trimmed
is
it
more
way-
based in
yeah.
reality.
It's a lot more believable in the movie.
Yeah.
And then, so what does he have to do in the second book? Does he go to Mars?
It's about his kid and everything.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
It's a lot more about his kid and stuff. I'm sure
Cool.
I don't actually remember. I have this problem with reading that I can read it and forget it probably a month later.
Oh, yeah?
I could watch a movie and remember every fucking scene, but my favorite book, it's a Terry Goodkind, it's a fantasy book series called Wizard's First Rule. But the first book, I've probably read it, I don't know, I would say roughly about 15 times, and I forget what's in the fucking book most of the time. So it's like it's like a surprise every goddamn time I read it. I go, oh yeah, I'll have a vague inkling that I remembered this chapter in this or where they went to or
I
what
shouldn't tell
dragon
you
they
this,
fought.
but for the last 22 years, I've been sneaking into your house every 3 months and changing out the contents of that book, but leaving the cover.
Just swap it.
You have read every Sweet 16, Sweet Valley High, all the Choose Your Own Adventures, all the Hardy Boys. You read it like once a week. It's really hard to actually find the time to get back to your place.
The best part about that, I'll call it a superpower. Why not? The best part about that is I can reread the entire series and have no clue and reread the book a bunch of times and enjoy it. Not quite like the first time, but pretty fucking close. So it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was going to be a one-off sci-fi film. We were talking about there's not a lot of those, they make it or they don't. There's been a few. Pandorum. You seen Pandorum?
No.
No. There's one where they're like going to go shoot a missile at the sun or something called Sunshine. They're here and there because sci-fi is expensive to make too.
Oh yeah.
But this one obviously you watch it, you go, no sequel. There's no way. That'd be as crazy as like calling Whoopi Goldberg back up to make another Sister Act. Like there's no one who's that crazy and stupid, right?
Did they make it too?
No, but
Okay.
Sci-Fi made a series.
Yeah, they made
a
a series.
which I haven't watched yet.
More plausible than it just trying to do another movie. You know what I mean? Like if you just did another movie, it'd be straight to DVD, like instantly. It wouldn't hang. But for some reason, if you do a series right, it can stick around for a while. It's
It's interesting which shows get, or which movies, get made into series, right? Because MASH, Robert Altman, art piece, really an art piece, got changed into a series. It became one of the most popular television series ever in the history of TV.
Yeah.
Always will be. That was almost in no way connected to the movie.
Yeah.
And then RoboCop had burned itself completely out. RoboCop 3 versus the Ninja Turtles or whatever had happened. And then they went and made a RoboCop series. Beastmaster had Beastmaster 1, didn't make any money in the theaters. Beastmaster 2, Beastmaster in Time, and then somehow a Beastmaster, and that got a series.
There's a third one?
There's a third one and a television series. Dune got converted into a series from the source material after being a really insane movie.
Okay, so but you can't why would you make Beastmaster into I didn't even know that existed.
I'm
First of all,
guessing the
Beastmaster 3
Highlander guy was like, well, it worked after the craziness of Highlander 2 and the hoverboard sword fighting of Highlander 2 and bringing Sean Connery back from the dead in Highlander 2.
And Xena's pretty much
Why
just
wouldn't
Red
it
Sonja, right?
And Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a series that is completely not related to... So I'm very interested in watching the series of this one.
That boggles my fucking mind.
One of the most popular
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, great fucking movie.
Have you watched the show at all?
I watched the show.
What do you feel?
Ass. It's horrible.
How much?
It's tragically bad.
Come on.
It's a fucking...
Give it up for the
90210 with some magic.
Hmm?
It's if you mashed up 90210 and Sabrina the Teenage fucking Witch. It's retarded. It's dumb.
God, we're gonna
It's
get so
fucking
many.
dumb. Except for that one dude.
If my wife listens to this, we are in so much trouble.
The angel guy.
She came out during an
fucking
episode
bring your
of Buffy.
Bring your bullshit Buffy crap on. I'm sorry, you fucked
Are
it
you
up.
challenging my wife to a fight? She's like 72 pounds, dude.
All right, not her specifically.
Well, all lesbians in general. Throw down Clegane Bowl.
I'm just saying. I don't. Fans of that fucking show are. The movie great. I fucking love Buffy the Vampires. When fucking Pee Wee Herman dies.
I only saw it the one time.
It's so great.
I can barely remember it. I remember it was good. It's like the Bill and Ted thing. It's like such a crazy concept, but
And
then
it's
you're
funny.
It's remarkable how good of a movie it is.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you didn't need to fucking take it and make it into a shitty fucking soap opera. I'm sorry. I get mad.
This is very interesting that you're so upset about this.
I get mad.
You just felt that it was like it was getting in the way of your time to watch True Blood. Is that
No,
why?
Like, maybe leave some shit good enough well alone. You know what I mean? Like, call it something. I know I said that completely wrong, but
Rarely is the question asked, is our kids ain't learning good?
I'm just saying you don't have to. You could have called that something else and stuck it on TV. You didn't need to.
Oh, yeah?
You didn't need to. Why?
Because that's the only way you sell it, probably. I'm indifferent to the whole
Probably.
Buffy thing. I'm
right.
fascinated by it.
I love the movie so much.
What's
That's why
the
it's
name
not
of the
in
guy who
series.
wrote the Buffy series? Did Cabin in the Woods. He did Avengers. He directed the first Avengers and wrote it.
Michael Bay. No.
Will
I'm kidding.
Wheaton.
Wheaton.
Is it Wheaton or
Joss Wheaton.
Joss.
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 Not Josh.
Joss Wheaton. People love him. They absolutely love him.
He did Buffy?
Buffy, Firefly,
Okay.
The Avengers,
All right. So all is forgiven.
Dollhouse.
That's fine. You can have Buffy. He gave me Firefly. He can have. I'm. You know what? The war's off with Buffy. I'm fine with it. Firefly is fucking pimp.
Have
That
you
is
have you
pimp shit.
rewatched in the last year or two?
Yeah.
Yeah, you still.
Yes.
This guy is a cult leader. He is the Ayn Rand of television writers. I swear. We got to go to break,
Yeah,
and then when we come back, I think we'll take a stab at talking
talk about the movie.
12 Monkeys.
Great flick.
Oh, that's awesome. It was really good. We should talk about it.
All right.
Yeah, we'll be
Let's
right
do that.
back after these messages.
Nothing's more fun than a barrel of monkeys, you've heard people say. You can own a barrel of monkeys, the lakeside game's so easy to play. Empty the barrel, pick up a monkey, hook 'em together one by one. The trick is to make a chain of 12.
Steady now, you've just begun.
The lakeside barrel of monkeys is a barrel of fun.
Lift up 12 monkeys in a chain, and you're the champ. Nothing's more fun than a barrel of monkeys.
All right, welcome back to Rated 80s Presents Comics on Film and our discussion of the 12 Monkeys.
Yes.
With Bruce Willis, Brad Pitt, and that guy who always plays that kind of guy, the doctor guy who ends up being the bad guy. He's always that kind of guy. He's always like the creepy
He was a bad guy. Oh, he was a bad guy in fuck, what movie was that?
Cape Fear or something like
Money
that.
Train? No. Money Train?
I
You
don't
seen
think
Money Train?
I barely remember
Money
White Men
Train.
Can't Jump too. So this movie has a very distinct visual style because it's a Terry Gilliam film, and
Yeah.
Terry Gilliam, as we talked about, was a an American who has since turned into a British person. He was
Yeah.
expatriated because he was kind of upset with the Bush administration, but he was such a wacky dude that he fit right in there with the Monty Python crew and became a member of Monty Python.
Yeah.
The only non-British Monty Python guy. And his stuff was so far out there that even they were like, we don't really know what he's doing with this giant foot and Renaissance pictures, animating them and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But we
he
love
made
it.
Fucking
It's crazy,
brilliant.
and we love it, and
Yeah.
it works, and it's so irreverent that it fits in the whole Monty Python thing. So he became one of those guys, and then when all that was done, they started breaking up. He started moving into film and has made, I don't think, any movie that is like universally hated.
No.
He's made a lot of
did Fear and
very
Loathing.
beloved movies. Yeah, and that's a movie that most people kind of like the first half of. And
I like the whole thing.
yeah, I can
Yeah.
never get it gets so dark there towards the
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
But
if
made
you read the
Brazil.
book.
Brazil
Brazil.
is wildly beloved. Time
Yeah.
Bandits, which I've never seen.
Which we need to do.
Yeah.
We really need to do that.
I'm open to the idea. I'm open to two ideas for the podcast. One is the Wonderful World of Willis.
Never.
Oh no, I just mean all the Bruce Willis
Bruce
movies.
Willis. Okay.
Yeah,
I
I've
was
got
like,
some
is that a
ideas.
fucking
Not
movie?
all of the Bruce Willis movies, but kind of a survey of some of the more interesting stuff
the
Bruce
ones
Willis
that-
has done.
You just haven't seen, or
Not everything I haven't seen. There's a few on the list I got going that I haven't seen, but I mean, Last Man Standing, widely hated, love it.
I've never seen it. I don't think.
Oh, you haven't seen Last
Yeah.
Man Standing? It's one of the many movies that's a ripoff of Yojimbo, which is a samurai film.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Last Man Standing. And Fifth Element, you can't
I
talk about
fucking
Bruce Willis
love-
without talking about
love
Fifth Element,
Fifth
which is
Element.
him,
Big bada boom.
I think, unknowns to Bruce Willis during the taping of Fifth Element, he is parodying a Die Hard movie, but has no idea. He's been tricked into it. I believe that's what's
He's
going
gotta
on there.
know. I mean, he's playing the same guy.
Maybe not. The Whole Nine Yards, great movie.
Yeah.
Sin City in there. He features heavily into that first Sin City movie, and he's also in the second one
He
for
was
some
like
reason.
my least favorite character in Sin City.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I can see that.
I liked.
And then one that you haven't seen, I know, is Tears of the Sun. Have you seen that one?
Okay, is that a military movie?
It's a military flick, yeah.
Okay.
Takes place like an extraction mission in either South America or Africa or something like that.
I feel like I've seen it, but I don't remember a lot of it.
I think it's a massively underrated film.
Really?
I think it's a great movie.
Check it out.
And then, of course, Assassination of a High School President.
Which is, I mean, a great name. I've never seen it.
I've never seen it nor heard of it, but today when I was like, Willis films, what are some great Willis films? It was going to be the week of Willis, so I was like, I need 7 of them. And I was like, but Bruce Willis is so awesome, he deserves 8. And so, like...
Give him an extra movie.
So we got that maybe on the burner. Maybe that's on the burner. But this is a movie about Bruce Willis as a child witnessing his own murder in an airport.
Wow.
Because he's...
spoilers.
oh, yeah.
Jesus
by the way.
Christ.
Maybe not. Maybe he's just a crazy person. This is such a strange, unique movie with such a great visual style.
Yeah. Because you can't beat... Because it starts... I mean, it pretty much starts out with him in prison in the future.
It's a little post-apocalyptic, like old terminal typing, you know?
Yeah.
Up on the screen, starts the movie. Green text on a black screen, which I always think is so sweet. The old Apple II kind of, you know, text entry. And it explains the apocalypse, but then it says, instead of that's not like the title, you know, like a title card that says what happened. It just says, a mental patient said this in 1990 or whatever.
Yeah.
So then it subverts itself right there, and then Bruce Willis wakes up in his cage.
Yeah.
And he is a prisoner in a future.
Yeah. In a weird... It seems almost Mad Maxian. I don't know, is that a word?
Mad Maxian?
Mad Maxian?
Mad Max-esque?
We're making a thing. Mad Maxian.
Uh-huh.
Because it's very... you can tell it's dystopian. It's very... Everyone has kind of weird armor on, the guards of the prison that he's in. And everyone's in, like, not 6x9 cages. They're fucking, like...
Oh, they got, like, a hamster wheel set up.
They look like chickens in a cage.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
oh, yeah, they look like farm chickens or like test subject. Well, that's the interesting thing about this movie. One, it does a great job right off the bat of establishing that he lives as a prisoner for some reason in the future, underground, because the virus has forced the remaining humans to move underground.
Yeah.
But it's so authoritarian that he gets somebody says, "You've been picked to volunteer."
Yeah,
he's like, "I didn't volunteer for anything." And they're like, "Are you causing trouble?"
Yeah. Nope.
With your accurate understanding of the word volunteer, are you like, you know, it's like, wow, my dad wrote this.
And they just like, I like how it was a claw that kind of picked him up.
Yeah.
Like those grabber games.
Yeah, it's just interesting. So immediately you're like, okay, everything is horrible.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a prisoner. But then it picks him up out of that and takes him and puts him in front of a panel of people. So immediately, you know, he lives in a very authoritarian society.
Yeah.
Because they're explaining to him how bad of a person he is. And even the things they say, you're not completely convinced, right? Because they're like, you've been accused of violence and antisocial sex. And what does that mean? Sex alone? Or like...
Antisocial?
Yeah, or how do you interpret
I'm accused
that?
Of that like every day.
Yeah.
They did say
it could mean many
aggravated
things.
assault, right?
Yeah,
aggravated violence.
But they've already been so authoritarian. You're like, is this really a bad dude, or is he subject to the? And then eventually, he has that power, like Michael Biehn in Terminator, where since you're from the future and a violent person, you're somehow better at it, which is probably not how things work at all. Because
it's psycho strong. He has because. I mean, when they finally go like, "Hey, you've been volunteered or whatever," and he has to get sent to the surface, which is basically uninhabitable. They put him in
that's his first mission.
In a Ziploc bag, basically, with a mouthpiece, and they send him up there to get speciments. And it's really cool. Is it New York City? Where is it? Pittsburgh?
Philadelphia, I believe.
Okay.
Philly, yeah, is where it starts out.
So,
but it's either Philly or Baltimore. And then one of the times he's sent to Baltimore, maybe, or the other city.
They're not too far from each other anyways, right?
Both are incredibly violent, dangerous places.
Well, yeah.
It's like if there's another RoboCop, he's probably going to go over to Philadelphia.
He ruined Detroit already.
Yeah. RoboCop. Let's not pin all that on RoboCop.
All right.
Leave RoboCop alone.
So I mean, he gets to go up, and it's snowy out and everything, and there's wild freaking animals. Not like normal wild animals. There's bears and lions.
Yeah, not stuff you're used to seeing in the city.
Yeah.
Other movies have since stolen
in the
this.
city, in the snow, looking at a lion like roaring on top of a building That kind of
It was like a bear. Yeah.
What is it?
Cinematography. Yeah.
No.
The framing.
Cinematically. Haha.
Aha.
Cinematically.
Cinemaxically.
Yes.
That's only for sex scenes. That's very well directed sex scenes, or cinemaxically.
It's really cool to see that. Like, to me, when I rewatched it today, the idea of just a lion on top of a building while snow's falling, roaring. I don't know, something that was just cool to me. And then a bear scares him, of course, and he freaks out. But it's because he did well on that mission, like fact gathering or whatever. They decide, hey, we're volunteering you for this other thing. And if you do well, you'll get a pardon. And you don't really know what he has to do.
Better could his life be outside? Because the whole past, the future that he lives in, the scientists seem to run society. Yeah. Which we know from The Simpsons is a bad idea. There was that episode where Mensa took over the city. And then Stephen Hawking came and told them they're all bad people. So we know, empirically, The Simpsons is my Bible, everyone. Okay. Like, that's just how I live my life. You
totally lost me. I'm a Family Guy dude. I didn't see that episode.
No, there's an episode, where Lisa is in Mensa, and then I think the mayor just leaves town or something because he's caught having sex with a model or something. He just books, and they're like, well, we'll just take over. And they have all these wonderful ideas like, we found out people drive faster through yellow lights, so to improve traffic, we're just going to get rid of green. So it's only... Yeah. So this is a totalitarian dystopia underground ruled by scientists who bully him into going back to the past.
You got to kind of wonder what the rest of society looks like in this, though.
This is all you ever see, though, is these two factions of it, right? You don't get to see the rest. Maybe that's just it. Maybe it's 8 scientists and 14 guys in cages, and that is literally
Well, no, because he obviously got arrested after it had already happened, after the apocalypse happened.
Yeah, because he's 8 or so.
So there has to be some other society. Maybe it's just like the caves, like in the Matrix, where everyone just has an orgy.
I figure that these cities are probably like 1,000 people apiece or whatever, and so under Philadelphia, if he's in Philly, then maybe there's like 1,000 people tops or something. Yeah. I haven't sat down and written any slash fiction about this yet. But
so they volunteer to send him into the past
with kind of a shady description of what's supposed to go down.
But like, you got to be mentally tough, and we'll see how it goes. And you seem to be,
and he's at no point, even at the beginning, does he seem all that together.
No. You live in a 4 by 5 foot. Kennel, basically.
Because you got arrested for having sex privately, which we don't think is social enough.
He's bound to be off. And they send him there, and it shows the machine later. Like, I was expecting a phone booth, but that's just me. But and they send him in a tube, basically. Which, do you see that? Like, it's...
Yeah, they kind of... It's interesting because he kind of is in the same setup as the... Mila Jovovich in Fifth Element later. He's kind of in this clear plastic tube completely naked.
It in.
Yeah. So they send him back in time to do kind of God knows what. They just want to have some information on this virus. So they can undo the virus. They seem to think that time happens just linearly, and even if they send him back, that's already happened. They seem to have that idea going on.
Which it kind of does.
I think doesn't change anything. Overall, so this is an interesting mind-bending movie because there's so many hints that does happen and so many hints that it doesn't. And then
well, you're hoping he changes it.
There's also hints that it's also all in his head. Like, you do not know at any point, I think, what's totally... This is why this movie is so eminently rewatchable.
Yeah.
It's not because you need to puzzle out, was that Optimus Prime hitting Megatron or what? I mean, it's very character-driven, but almost, and this is a hard thing to pull off, almost equally story-driven as character-driven.
Yeah.
Most movies have it one way or the other.
Yeah.
But this is very well acted from top to bottom. And they send him back, but they screw it up.
They fucked up. They sent him in 1999.
No, they sent him in 1990. Yeah. So the Apocalypse 96, they want to get him back to like 96, like a day ahead of time.
Yeah.
Which
I know, it's scientists, a couple months ahead of time.
Well, anyway, come on,
it doesn't matter.
94 or try it out a bunch.
Like, keep working on it.
You have a time machine. Chillax, all right? Don't send him just a couple months.
But as far as it's got to still be linear, because everything that actually causes the shit that goes down still is in place. Like, they didn't change anything.
Well, it seems to be this paradox. I was not wanting to get this so soon into the episode, but it seems to be that the paradox is that if they'd never sent him back, none of this would ever happen, right? It's an I'm your own grandpa.
No. Because I mean, while he sees himself die, the guy that has the virus gets away.
Mm-hmm.
They almost have nothing to do with each other.
But everything he does ensures that everything that has happened does happen
No,
the way
because
he remembers it.
the guy, well, it happens the way he remembers it, yes, but the guy himself that's actually the baddie takes the virus, goes to the airport, gets on the fucking plane. With no interaction with Bruce Willis whatsoever. He has interaction with the chick, getting his book signed by her, talking about the apocalypse, but he has no interaction with Bruce Willis whatsoever until he kind of freaks out that this guy wants to shoot him at the airport. But other than that, there's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to happen regardless.
Oh, you don't see any butterfly effects going on then?
Not with him.
No.
Not with in the way that, I mean, that guy was going to get on the plane whether Bruce Willis came back or not.
Okay.
Just without the fucking fight scene or
But-
without the gun scene.
So everything Bruce Willis does seem to, we're going to have to go to break here pretty soon, but everything Bruce Willis does do seems to set up a scenario in which Bruce Willis will be sent back into time.
Yes.
So it's this paradox where no matter what you do, time is going to happen on the route you think is going to happen already, even though he's trying so hard to kind of undo stuff.
God, now that I'm thinking about it, that's pretty genius of them, actually. If they realize, if the scientists in the future realize that what they do won't actually change history, which I'm assuming if they could send people back in time, they were trying that anyways, right?
Do they have? Because they don't initially. So first thing happens.
Because they want research, they want information about the virus.
They would like him to bring back some information or some physical thing that they could look at
to come up with a cure, though.
Come up and cure with the virus, so they can go back on top of the surface of the Earth and breathe normal, non-recirculated underground horrible air.
In no point are they trying to stop it from happening.
But
They're
Bruce
just trying
Willis
to find
certainly
a
is.
Well, yeah, of course.
By the time, although he's too late as well. Oh, this is such a Mobius strip of a film, and we're gonna have to rally. We're gonna have to rally up during the break and find out how do we even approach this cinematic wonderland that is the 12 monkeys. We haven't even talked about Brad Pitt yet. We haven't even thrown out any crazy fan theories about Brad Pitt.
I'm just glad we got through that whole break with actually just talking about the movie.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
I'm proud.
Yeah, wow, really? All right. Let's go outside.
We'll be back with more of the movie.
Yeah, more of the movie. Wow, that is bizarre. Patented asides just aren't working today. We'll come back and talk about how we came up with patented asides.
Gaylord! Gaylord! Gaylord, you look kind of crazy, move kind of lazy, see what you do. Gaylord, when you pull the leash, he'll walk with you.
Gaylord the pup is full of tricks. Watch. Back up, Gaylord. Atta boy. Now climb, Gaylord. Up, up. Now fetch your bone. Got it. Good boy, Gaylord.
Gaylord, you look kind of crazy, move kind of lazy, see what you do. Gaylord, when you pull the leash, he'll walk with you.
Gaylord comes with a bone of his own. He's a wonderful toy. He's ideal.
Gaylord, when you pull his leash, he'll walk with you.
Oh, commercials were much more innocent back then. That's a puppy called Gaylord that you lead around on a leash.
He walks forwards and backwards,
Mm-hmm.
and that's about. He looks like a pound puppy with creepy robot legs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's in black and white, too, if you can find it on YouTube, the Ideals Toys. So we don't even know what Gaylord looked. It might be fabulous. It might be pink and purple and white. Or it's probably just brown and other brown
Probably
and white.
brown and white. Yeah.
But, yeah.
So 12 monkeys.
12 monkeys, yep. So we send them back. Back in time to 1990.
Yeah, they fucked up because it was supposed to be 96. Sent them
And
back to 90.
oddly, sending a convict with a history of violence back in time and nothing but a G-string, he immediately has an altercation with 5 police
And
officers.
it's really where you learn he's a badass because as they're describing him before, because you're following the doctor at this point, they're describing him
Yes,
like...
in case you're not familiar with Bruce Willis.
Yeah. They say he took on 5 cops and
put 2 of them in the
the
emergency
hospital.
room.
And she seems cool. Like you're following her into his cell, and they chained him to the floor but like not in like a sitting position, like a kneeling.
In a horrible, torturing way.
Yeah.
And he's wearing like almost the same thing that he went to the surface with in the future where he's from, which he's constantly referring to as the present. He's
like a
wearing,
Ziploc bag
yeah, like it's
thingy.
a giant plastic thing.
Reminds me of the sweatsuits you use when you want to cut weight when you're fighting.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looks like.
He just looks terrifying, and he's completely confused because apparently time travel is not super easy on the human mind.
He's on Thorazine through 80% of
Yeah,
this movie.
he's super doped up.
Because he's drooling everywhere. There's a shit ton of Bruce Willis drool in this movie.
Yeah, there's, Brad Pitt interacts
plays in
with it
Yeah.
physically. Brad Pitt is such an amazing actor. We are so lucky to have a Brad Pitt.
I get a lot of shit for that when people ask me what my favorite actor is. And I
Oh,
say
really?
Well, people, because he is fucking prolific and everybody knows him, and he's just the epitome of what an actor is in the kind of Hollywood story sense. You know what I mean? Discounting how good he is, people make fun of
Well, he's
him
like
as
always a
punchline.
contender for like sexiest man alive, but
Yeah.
he's also an amazing actor.
Fuck yeah.
It's not like let's say Burt Reynolds, who is a functional actor who women found like super fucking attractive in his day.
Yeah.
This is Brad Pitt. He's up there. He is way up there in terms of
legit
skill, project selection, in terms of doing like really cool things like this and Fight Club, and I want to hang around and eat a peanut butter off a spoon for a whole movie. He did that one time. Like, yeah.
Wait, what movie was that?
It's where he Meet Joe Black.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good movie.
Yep. Brad Pitt eating peanut butter. Like,
It is.
a
Damn it.
major function of that, and he makes that interesting. It's not like he doesn't know he's sexy. He's like, just give me a spoon and some peanut butter, and I'll.
He's my
Just not a dry seat in the house. If it's an all women theater, not a dry seat in the house.
literally he is my one. Like, I may not be straight. You know what I mean? Like,
he's your Jared Leto. Like,
yeah.
if you had to. If you
I
had
don't
to
know if I had
Leto,
to, but
you'd Leto Pitt. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, I think
Yeah.
I would. I don't
Yeah.
know. Just for Fight Club alone, I'd give him a good reach around. You know what I mean? Like, thank you, sir.
A good reach around. You're like, I would totally dominate him.
Well, yeah.
Because, like,
Well-
I don't want anyone to think I'm some sort of faggot, but
No,
I would
it's not-
also,
No, I mean-
I'd grab his man clit from behind as I'm violating my hero. What kind of weird?
I would be a nice guy. And give him, you don't have to give a reach around.
Huh?
That's completely voluntary.
I thought you were gonna backpedal a little bit and be like, well, you don't have to be fucking a guy to give him a reach around. Maybe I'm just like we're in line
Snuggling.
at the grocery store. Oh, we're
He's the
snuggling.
little
Okay.
spoon.
I'm trying to make this as inoffensive to your rabid heterosexuality as possible.
I don't
But-
have rabid heterosexuality. I'm not gay, but I'm
You're
just
just
not rabid.
marginally heterosexual. How would you describe yourself?
Stop making me sound gayer.
Oh, you're doing that all by yourself, honey.
It's not that I my sexuality stands as this. I've never fucked a guy,
Mm-hmm.
but if Brad Pitt showed up,
But I have
might-
a plan. Like,
I mean,
I
only-
have two plans. If I'm fucking a guy and it's to prove a point, no reach around. If it's Brad Pitt, though, I'm gonna assume he's liking it and knows it's from fandom, and
Yeah.
also a reach around just in case I'm not driving that point home enough inside
nice
of his
about
anal
it.
orifice.
Now, who's using the hand gestures here when you're
Huh?
talking about reach arounds?
Yeah, I don't know why I'm
What?
miming a hand
Oh,
gesture.
shit. We both have dicks. We both know how to do that. We don't need
Huh?
examples, and they can't see it.
Yeah, I know. Your whole thing doesn't bother me at all, but the fact that I'm miming reach around
Yeah.
bothers me.
That was gayer than what I said.
Because
honestly.
it's not. No, nothing is
No,
gayer than what you
that's-
said.
So finally, I mean, they send him back, and he assaults cops. Like 5 of them, gets in a fight, meets the doctor, and he's all fucked
He's
up.
changed
and
the floor. The doctor is a female who's super sympathetic to his plight. She's what you would call, in the mental health profession, a real human being. And
Yeah.
she's the only real human authority figure he meets throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
Every other authority figure is a complete asshole to him.
Yeah.
The police are assholes to him. Kind of understandably, because it's the 90s and police were fucking dicks back then.
Yeah.
And also because he put 2 of them in the hospital
Yeah.
because he's got future
He's
Michael
lucky
Biehn
he
strength.
lived.
Yeah. Yeah.
White privilege.
Philadelphia.
It's the fact that when they finally get him to the mental institution, they do this great job in the movie of juxtaposing the future with the present, because he ends up talking to this
Constantly
board
board of doctors. Yep.
yeah, board of doctors, and just little similarities It still looks rather dystopian. I like how they did point out, like, when he does get to the mental institution, it's a fucking wreck joint. Like, these people have, like, social time in hallways that look like they're being remodeled. And, to their credit, there's actually a dude, when he finally escapes, partially escapes, there's a guy working on the ceiling. Like, he's actually working on the building. So it's like, are they remodeling or like? But it's all
plausible. It's completely implausible that he would escape.
There's no reason they had to stick together. There's a guy on stilts working on ceiling shit. Like,
there's also people from the future kind of just peppered around. I believe this mental hospital, right? The security guard. So he gets to the mental hospital and he meets Brad Pitt.
Yeah,
and Brad Pitt, up until this point, had been in things like Legend of the Fall. And this movie, they got Willis at a deal rate.
Yeah.
And they got Pitt at a deal rate because Pitt hadn't hit yet. But like 4 of the most Brad Pittiest movies, when he was a heartthrob more than anything.
Yeah.
Now he's a very well-respected character actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not the only person who's like, I'm not gay, but totally reach around that guy.
See?
Yeah.
He's the dude.
Your brother said the same thing. It's weird. So there's at least 2. But
have at it, sir.
Yeah.
All right. And they made this movie for $28 million. That's in 28.
And you got to figure at least 5 of that's going to Willis, at least, if not 10.
Yeah,
at least 5 or 10 million of that's going to Willis. And Brad Pitt was just about to hit, and they got him at a deal rate. And this is when Brad Pitt, I think, got taken serious by a lot of men in America as not just a guy who's like super hot, like because. He's not hot in this at all. You know what I mean?
This is how you said that. That was awesome.
Okay.
This is how he got taken by a bunch of.
Well, I mean, men
taken seriously by a bunch of guys,
him,
not by just being hot. Not. That's not.
Do you not understand what I'm saying?
No,
Are you breaking the flow of the podcast just to insult me? After your comment that would be gayer than Liberace, dipped in glitter and fired to the moon on a beam of rainbows. And now you just have to throw it back at me.
A little bit.
Leave my heterosexuality alone. Just because I married a homosexual doesn't make me a homosexual. It just means that when Rosie O'Donnell blows the horn of clitoris, my name's on the protected rolls. When the lesbians come down from the Rockies and their Subaru Outbacks with the Labrador Retrievers in the back, and they finally, when the revolution happens, I get to work in the community garden.
Species.
Yeah, and everyone, all the other men will die.
They keep you for weeding
and breeding purposes.
And seed. Weeding and seeding. So yeah, he meets Pitt in the mental institution, and Pitt he plays. It's Tyler Durden before Tyler Durden. It is clearly.
This is kind of, I think, Brad Pitt figuring out who Brad Pitt could be on screen if you just let him completely off the chain.
Oh, yeah.
Because his hands are all over the place.
Yeah.
And
it's fucking beautiful.
It almost makes me wonder, because Pitt has taken, I can't believe this podcast is degraded into this, but Brad has taken so many roles that are like in edgy films like this and Fight Club and other things of that nature. It makes me wonder, does he know he's in a movie? Or was he just off his meds in this movie and Fight Club?
It feels like it.
It is perfect crazy person jargon. It's exactly what you'd get from a person not quite homeless yet, right? A person in that intermediate step, which is what he's playing, is a white privileged insane person locked in a mental institution. And this movie also does not play kid gloves with you.
No.
There is a story for Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt knows that story. Brad Pitt is a crazy person. Brad Pitt has really no interest in you knowing what the story of him is.
Yep.
He's just going to say a lot of stuff that will only make sense on your second watch of the film.
And he kept talking about his dad. His dad.
My dad is God.
Yeah.
And my dad will get me out of the situation and send me to a much better place. But it doesn't. It's just a trail of breadcrumbs for you, which is why this movie is so rewatchable. So much of it just accepts that you as an adult can deal with a movie being a movie.
Yeah, like you're not an idiot.
Yeah.
And everyone has their own little, because he ends up, Brad Pitt gets him a key to get.
Somehow.
Yeah.
But you totally believe Brad Pitt can do that.
Yeah. There's no questioning it. He's the ruler of the crazy people without using authority. And he gets this key and he gives it to Willis, but Willis is Thorazined out. Like completely drooling on himself, trying to escape from the mental institution.
That wasn't even a plot point. It's that they hired Bruce Willis, and he's like, I'm in a cage. Do I have to fight people? and like 30 extras died in the taping of this movie.
And he gets out, and then that's the first time when they finally catch him a couple hallways down or whatever. They drug him some more and stick him in a cell where he's strapped. There's only one door out, and then there's an air vent above.
Strapped to a table, not strapped like the 1998 movie about kids with... means you carry a gun. Remember that? Strapped. It means you carry a gun.
He doesn't have...
No, they didn't...
What do they call it?
They didn't arm him and drug him and then leave him, because it would be another Die Hard.
He didn't have a gat. It was just strapped to a table, a gurney, and he just disappears.
Nobody's watching. Nobody ever sees.
Nope.
Coming back going, they're pretty good at the timing on the time travel.
And in the meantime, he's trying, like, before all of that, he had a conversation with the board of all the doctors at the hospital trying to plead his case that he just needs to call this number and leave a voicemail or leave a message for the people that are going to have it. But they fucking sent him to 90 instead of 96, so he calls a lady because the number...
You kids might not know. Back in the day, if you had a house phone and you managed to keep it on for more than a year, that was your phone number.
Yeah.
If you didn't, the phone company did not care. It would just reissue it immediately, and then it was like almost the 2000s before you could keep your cell phone number from one company to another, because we had to lobby Congress for that. So people's numbers changed all the time back in the day.
Fred is, hate to bring up my buddy Fred again, but Fred is the only dude I know who he's had the same exact cell phone number since 93.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His mom worked for Verizon when it kicked off.
Meaning he had a cell phone when he was 13 years old.
Yes.
Which, in 93, the Zach Morris edition,
and
it's
he
a
lost 3 of
VHS
them.
cassette.
Everyone was like, you couldn't lose your phone if it was that big. No. He lost 3 of those motherfuckers.
No, Fred used to gobble acid like other kids had Captain Crunch.
That's true.
Yeah.
So they send him back, and he talks to that people, and he tries to escape, but they lock him up in that room that only has one door in and the vent in the ceiling, and he just disappears. He just completely disappears. And the doctor, the chick, his friend, or who will be the romantic interest later, is completely confounded by this. Everyone's like, they blame the vent up above, which is...
And he looks up, and he's like, this is my explanation, but it makes no sense.
Nothing.
It's screwed in. There's a running fan in it.
Yeah.
It's too small for someone. I mean, Bruce Willis is pretty good at getting around air ducts. We all know that. Right. That's how he got his first acting job.
Yeah.
He crawled through a bunch of air ducts. He was supposed to go to an audition. He was too late. Someone else was reading for the part, and he dropped through the air duct, snapped that motherfucker's neck. He was
and they'll be like, you're perfect for moonlighting.
Yeah. That's how it went down.
So, and poof, he goes back to the future. Yeah, that's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
He goes back. It's weird saying that. He goes back to the future, which is in 90 or... Okay, what year does it start off at?
It's like 2035 or something. He's been underground for most of his adult life.
So, yeah.
Or most of his life, actually, because right after the movie ends, the movie begins, or the dystopia starts taking hold.
Yeah, it's got to be, 2035 would make him like 40 because when he was a kid, he was like 6. Yeah. So, like 2035. So, they send him back there basically saying that they wanted to know if he just did a shit ton of drugs and found women.
They get so aggressive with him because they're so authoritarian. I got a question. I don't know if this is true, but rewatching it today, is one of the doctors on the panel of scientists in the future, is that also one of the doctors back in the... I feel like there's at least one piece of crossover.
There's one dude that feels like her boss back in 1990... The main kind of head boss guy, the guy that says he lost the
seems like
vent.
he's another one of the people that's running society in the future.
Totally feels that way. Yeah,
I didn't have enough time to like totally check that out.
I didn't check it out either.
Yeah.
But it feels like it is. And there's people that.
And there's also that guard that he's running, or the guard tells him how to escape. Remember, he's got the key and he's trying to go in the elevator. And he's obviously an escape patient. He's covered in he's wearing the gown.
Yeah,
that's If you've ever been institutionalized or you want to know a little bit about being institutionalized, a big part of it is they put you in a special uniform, so if you escape, they can tell that you're escaping.
Yeah.
But the guard's sitting there, and he goes, nope, use the other elevator to escape. There's so many levels to this film.
I think that one, the guy just didn't give a shit about his job.
Because
he was like, well, he was reading the paper.
I think it's heavily implied that he's an agent from the future.
Well, I
there's a few times around the film, right, where there's things that are implied.
Yeah.
That there's also a lot of this movie they're running from police officers.
Yeah.
When you get deeper into the film, which is going to have to go to extra innings, I'm almost positive that we're going to totally have to go to extra innings for this.
Yeah.
So you Convergent Zone people are going to have to follow us over our website.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's how we hook you.
Yep. You don't even need a pop-up block or anything, though. I keep
Yeah.
that completely clean. You just get there, get your episode, subscribe on up. So, but there's you can watch this 7 or 8 times to keep finding stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's to drama what Arrested Development is to comedy. I mean, you can just watch it and watch it and watch it.
There's little tweaks everywhere and
keep not quite having a coherent theory of the entire movie.
Yeah.
Which is good for a movie that means to be that, not like a movie where you walk out and you're like, I don't get it at all.
Yeah.
This treats you like an adult and has all these layers. It's like you're an onion addict, but you can only eat, one skin of the onion at a time. You can keep going through this. You can keep peeling that onion and eating it your entire life. It's a really good movie.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of this flick. I like how when he gets back though, they just assume because he's a convict that all he did was he goes, did you enjoy the drugs and did you enjoy the women? And he literally says, no women, but they gave me tons of drugs.
All on drugs. So between the time travel, the beatings, the chaining to things, and then Thorazine, and also Brad Pitt, who is a living hallucinogen in this film almost anytime he's on the screen. And then he's got to go back and deal with these people.
Because he's clearly I don't know. You could see him mentally break down more and more and more throughout the movie. It's Bruce Willis when he acted, and acted well. It wasn't just, I'm fucking Bruce Willis.
Most time travel movies, they go, okay, it'd be a little bit wacky if we sent you back to 1972.
Yeah.
And you'd spend 2 seconds being a little bit wacky. It's just dealt with very, very briefly.
Plus the fact that he was...
But this one deals with it.
And where he leaves, so he's underground to begin with, and then he goes to a world he's only known when he was a kid. Fresh air. And there's that thing about the music. He loves the new music and
And America in the early 90s was only slightly less of a dystopia than it is in 2035 in this movie where they're living underground. So much of the imagery reminded me of the other Terry Gilliam film that a lot of people love, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
That one did not make any money, I don't think. That one was a huge fight for him to get even made and all that.
Yeah, this did $168 million.
Yeah, this hit. The 90s were an amazing decade for film.
Dude.
Everyone wants to talk mess about the 90s now, and you look at the 90s, you're like, oh, it wasn't all Batman and Superman and Marvel and stuff, which those movies obviously have an audience.
Which I think we've determined the best year of movies, at least on our lifetime, was 99.
1999.
Has to be.
Yeah.
But I went back and you look at the movies that were in 95 too, pretty fucking rad. So if you're sitting at home going, well, I thought you guys just did 80s movies. We're rated 80s.
We're rated 80s.
The shit that
means we can say rape whenever we want because Charles Bronson will show up and stop the rape.
Yeah.
That's what rated 80s. We can talk about anything that would have been put in a movie in the 80s, which means anything.
The good shit. The stuff that nobody was really, people worried about, but you could actually still say. It was a great time.
We don't need to justify our podcast to you, audience.
I get a lot of people going, so you guys just do 80s movies? Like, no, we do whatever feels like an 80s movie. Whatever, and I think you put it best always, is if you use a gun, if you shoot a light switch to turn out the lights instead of just turning it off, that's 80s shit. You know what I mean? Gratuitous boobs, shooting a light switch off, and robots.
And
might as well add time travel in.
And this movie is so we want to look at everything, right? We want to look at the gratuity of the 80s, but we also want to look at the fallout of that, which is the 90s were an amazing decade for film.
Oh yeah,
because people were kind of worn out by the 80s Commando and stuff like that, stuff that was just so over the top. And we're going to keep talking about this at length. And it's a great movie. And if you're listening to us on the Convergent Zone, we do want you to come over, pick up the rest of this episode. You just jump up an hour and you're caught up. You're caught up all the way to that hour. Listen to the rest of it.
And this is now a word from our not sponsors.
Gaylord comes with a bone of his own. He's a wonderful Gaylord comes with a bone of his own. He's a wonderful Gaylord comes with a bone of his own. He's a wonderful Gaylord comes with a bone of his own. He's a wonderful Gaylord comes with a bone of his own. He's a wonderful toy. He's ideal. Gaylord comes with a bone of his own. He's a wonderful toy. He's ideal.
And we're back. Not
Totally
Yeah.
back. We're back.
We're back.
Totes back.
Totes back in extra innings.
To the extreme.
Extremely extreme. Sorry, different movie. Have you seen that, by the way?
Which one?
White Castle.
Harold and Kumar go
yes.
White Castle.
God
I
damn.
have. I actually really, really love that movie.
Such a great movie.
Another one of that vein, which I thought was really interesting, if maybe not the best thing ever, was Pineapple Express. Have you seen Pineapple
I did not
Express?
like that at all.
It is tonally insane, and I always, not always, but sometimes I really love when people are willing to take an insane tonal shift in a movie, and that one does it. Like Blazing Saddles, of course, is the king of that. Like,
fuck yes.
And of course, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which we will have to get to someday in our survey of films.
I feel like, not that we're not good enough to do it,
Hmm?
because we are,
Mm-hmm.
to do Monty Python and the Holy Grail. But I feel like it's almost the Holy Grail of movies. I hate to, I didn't have a better way to put that.
Comedy, since we were talking about this film, we could
Yeah.
talk about Monty Python and them redefining comedy. You know, comedy will go through phases. There's definite phases in comedy, and those guys made a decision right up front. They made a decision. They go, okay, we got a comedy show. BBC's giving us a comedy show. What do we want to do that's different? Let's get rid of the punchline and do
Just
something
fucking all of it different.
Yeah, let's do something so indescribable that no one can ever categorize it, which is not how human brains work. The term Python-esque popped up to categorize what they do. But
you remember the first skit you saw of theirs? Or the first time you saw Monty Python?
I remember Comedy Central used to show it, and I think it showed breasts maybe in one of the animations in between.
Oh, yeah.
And then they would often just have women naked with like
You
their
just
hair in front of their nipples and
ran
things
to
like
the bathroom
that.
and jerked off.
I was just like, well, we've talked a lot about my childhood on this, but there was always this thought in my brain, because there was so few things I was allowed to watch.
Yeah.
But there was always this thought in my brain that I could probably see sex if I watched a soap opera during the day, anything foreign, which Monty Python counts as, but we're thinking more like it's a kid show from Colombia, and it also happens to have nipples in it for some reason.
Yeah.
And those two things, and Monty Python was definitely like, I was always on the hunt.
So you saw it on Comedy Central when you were younger, or
Yeah, Comedy Central, maybe back in the Hot Channel days, or maybe when it became Comedy, because Comedy Central went through a few iterations as well before it finally became Comedy Central.
They didn't know how to market it.
Be interesting. We don't have time tonight to talk about. So the idea was cable TV, and cable got no respect, and it was filled with mostly Turner Broadcasting stuff was cable, and then Nickelodeon appeared and all these things. But you had
Shawshank and
they figured out and Beastmaster. They figured out they had all this bandwidth to put channels on down a coaxial cable. However, they figured that out, but they didn't have the content necessarily. And you had interesting things like A&E was a very interesting channel coming from the world of only having ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. That's all you had in PBS.
A&E, Caroline's, or Evening at the Improv.
Evening at the Improv. Huge influence, I think, on every comedian our age.
So here's the thing. I used to set, so I'd have to be in bed by 9.
Mm-hmm.
I would go to bed, but I would set an alarm to sneak out into the front room to watch Caroline's. It was on at 11:30 every single night on, I want to say KBTC. I want to say like the public access channel.
Oh, really?
Or no, it was
A&E.
A&E.
A&E had
what
that.
am I thinking? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then here's
Stand-up made cable, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Hands down.
Don't say this isn't an art form.
Here's how I stumbled upon Monty Python when I was younger. It was, and I feel so blessed, the first skit I ever saw Monty Python was on PBS, because that's the only way I would get it. We didn't have BBC or anything. They had it on PBS, and it was the parrot skit.
Oh, really?
The fucking parrot skit. and I actually laughed so hard I woke my mom up, and that's how the whole thing got fucking ruined.
Your whole scam.
The whole
the
whole
and you were
waking
just
up and watching
waiting
comedy.
for Mike Hunt and there was a guy named Michael Hunt, right? He called himself Mike
Yeah,
Hunt, and he had a porno that he'd found some loophole in the law to put on public access television on cable. And so every kid in America, that was the other thing. You try and watch the public access.
That the parrot skit, I think, is I don't know if there's anything more genius than that for comedy in my eyes. Mainly because nostalgia, yes, but it's so fucking perfect.
I do not know the name of the sketch, but I remember it's the one where the guy walks, the taller, skinnier python walks in a ridiculous manner.
John Cleese,
I think it was
with
Cleese.
the high stepping.
He's doing
like
all this
goose stepping
different,
almost.
all kinds of crap. He's doing all this ridiculous crap when he's walking, and he walks past a sign that says, so it spends a good 45 seconds, which is an eternity on television, showing just this really, and he's British, so it's complete alien to me as an American kid who just got cable. He's doing all this bizarre stepping, and then he walks past a sign that says the Department of Silly Walks.
Yeah.
And he walks into a room, and I would have been here sooner, but my walk has gotten a lot sillier lately. And someone walks in, and he starts screaming at him, and the guy goes, I came in here for an argument. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry, this is abuse.
Yeah, the abuse department.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that whole, fuck. It's weird how I latched, because I'm a huge fan of Mr. Bean.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge fan the way my comedy works, because I'm people want to put me as a dirty comic and stuff like that, and I just say what I want. But I really enjoy things. My comedy leans towards things I can't actually do.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't embarrass myself. I do on a regular basis. But
just
mentally,
the Brad Pitt reach around comment. Yeah.
I have no shame, but I hate embarrassing myself. So British comedy, for some reason, because it's kind of slapsticky, but it's still pretty smart, it sucked me in like crazy. Like Mr. Bean, huge.
The reason those things work, and you know where I found this out, was South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut.
Really?
Which I just rewatched 2 days ago. I rewatched it, and I go, holy cow, I can't understand it. The overall thing that they're doing is incredibly sophisticated in that movie.
Yeah.
That movie, and all South Park episodes have this. And a lot of the stuff we're talking about with the British stuff, where they're ridiculously over the top with the physical stuff.
Yeah.
But what they're doing is very sophisticated comedy-wise. They might not have a huge message about censorship or libertarianism or whatever the South Park guys are doing.
Yeah.
But the approach to it is very sophisticated. They know exactly what they're doing.
They're narrowing it down.
They're doing something incredible, but they're hitting on both. It's like in poker. This is how I thought about the South Park movie. In poker, you can have a thing called the wheel, if you have enough cards.
Yeah.
Which is you win the high hand and the low hand.
Yeah.
And the best comedy is the wheel. It wins both of them.
Yeah.
George Carlin's comedy.
Oh, yeah.
Always. I get you with the fart jokes, and then we get political, and I'm right about that too. Yep. And then I also, when it's slowing down, or I just incorporate a dick joke into it somewhere. And by dick joke, we mean anything crass in any way, shape, or form. It's like that's how you win.
The getting lost road trip of, like, to me, it's like, oh, let's get in that car and just drive. Like, we're going to make it to L.A., but we're going to stop by Boise, Idaho, and Denver, and then eventually get back to the goal. I love that roundabout. Because if you
actually just want to be universal, there's only a few things you can talk about.
Yeah.
If you're just going to, my topic list will be universal. And Carlin was a master at that as well, of picking enduring topics. Any Carlin special for a good 10 of them in a row, you could watch and go, perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. Still applicable. But to do it also on the behind-the-scenes technical level is very important.
Yeah.
And I don't know how our audience can use this information. I almost feel like I'm just kind of jacking myself off right now. Like, oh, I'm so smart. I figured this out. But it's something maybe now you'll notice it later. And you're like, maybe that's why I appreciate this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe you don't appreciate that. Maybe you're the kind of person who thinks that Fuller House is a great show.
I haven't seen it yet.
Don't.
Really?
It's so I mean,
hold
on. Yesterday.
Time out. I'm really glad they're getting a paycheck. I don't give a fuck either way. Like, I didn't like Fuller House growing up.
It was called Full House.
Full
when we
House.
were growing up.
Yes.
Are you from the future?
Maybe. I didn't like it growing up. I would kind of end up getting okay. It's like Little House on the Prairie.
Mm-hmm. I didn't like it, but goddamn, did I masturbate to it a lot.
Nobody searched out to watch it necessarily. At least I didn't.
No, not people of our
everybody's
cut from the cloth we're cut
seen
from.
every episode. You know what I mean?
I've done road work where we drove by home of Laura Ingalls Wilder.
The original?
Yeah, where she grew up.
The actual person.
The town hasn't improved much. Let me say.
So I like that. Oh, I'm from Oregon, the Garden Grove and all that. That whole I know I've been there, but it was on like a school field trip when I was 7.
Laura Ingalls Wilder. Did she write Little Women or Little House on the Prairie?
Little House on the Prairie.
Okay, it
Laura
was out
Ingalls
in the
Wilder.
Dakotas somewhere where we drove past that. Maybe it was the person who wrote Little Women. But
Garden Grove is
Garden Grove.
Pretty sure is Oregon.
You're talking about the Sublime song?
No,
because that's California. Let me clue you into how Oregon names things. They're thieves. The Oregonians are dirty thieves in
First
terms
off,
of names.
fuck off. Springfield, the home of the Simpsons, is in Oregon.
Yeah, but you know why they picked it? Because Oregon stole that name because they were like the millionth state to steal that name because it's the most popular town name in America is Springfield and Eugene, of which there are one in each of those in Oregon. There's a Milwaukee, Oregon.
I'm from
There's
Springfield,
a Portland, Oregon. There's a Salem, Oregon.
I was born there.
Okay.
Willamette
I was
Hospital.
born in Salem, Oregon.
Were you?
Yeah.
Oh, we're Oregonians.
Yeah.
We made it to the hilltop of Tacoma.
My parents just didn't like. I love Oregon. Everyone gets all complainy. They won't let me pump my own gas. It feels
Who
to
the
me
fuck
like
wants to?
Yeah,
that's a shit.
Maybe
job.
I'm a lazy person, but I'm like I feel like one of those guys who asked another guy for Grey Poupon. I don't even have to get out of the car.
And it is so hard to pump your own gas when you're drunk.
It is.
I'm just saying, it saves a lot of fucking time.
Yeah.
Because you go like, dude, I need to pack a Camel filters and put a bunch of money in the tank.
He knows I'm drunk.
He fucking knows. He doesn't care.
Bought a 40 of Old English and an empty Big Gulp cup.
He's
fucking
working
knows.
there. He's working there because he got the Dewey. You know what I mean? What movie we did? Oh, 12 Monkeys.
Oh, I want to talk about, the whole reason I was thinking about Fuller House.
Yes.
So Full House was, I hope we have young listeners. I wonder if we do sometimes. I hope we have listeners that are a good 10 years younger than us.
I mean, you're going to explain it either way, so it's not like it matters.
Well, the only people, if you're exactly our age and you don't know what Full House is, how did you get an iPhone to the land of the Amish?
Yeah.
How is that going down?
I gotta be, I am glad they're getting a paycheck.
I'm
That's
always
awesome.
glad when anyone gets a paycheck.
Fucking rock on.
Yeah, everyone should get money.
But it's really bad.
Well, Full House was a bad show, I thought, to begin with. It was the first sitcom, maybe Home Improvement, maybe Full House, both ABC shows.
Yeah.
ABC, even before they were owned by Disney, the most vanilla network out of even the big three. ABC, NBC, CBS were the big three, still are, broadcast networks. Get them anywhere in America as long as there's not something cutting out your over-the-airwave signals.
Yeah.
And ABC was always the one that would take kind of the least chances, but then also kind of the most chances. It was weird because their Friday night sitcom lineup was like Family Matters, Full House, Step by Step.
Yeah.
And then that guy turned out the guy who played Cody. He beat the shit out of his wife. He was like a kung fu master.
Step by Step.
Step by Step. It was kind of a Full House ripoff. But so Full House.
I remember the theme song, but I don't remember the fucking show.
It was like a Brady Bunch meets Full House ripoff.
That's not the one with Blossom, right? No.
No. Blossom
is the one with
starting
Blossom.
a show called The Equalizer. No, Blossom was Blossom, and that was, I think, on a different network and a little bit more edgy, right?
Yeah.
So Blossom thought about sex. How dare you, teenage girl?
Okay, we can't go past Step by Step. What is that?
It was half of a Full House ripoff and half of a Brady Bunch ripoff because it was a couple who got married and they had mismatched kids, but they didn't just have three of each or three of one sex and three of the other sex. They had personalities, a little bit more personalities than the Brady Bunches. The new modern thing, and then one of the kids was, I think, kind of in love with the other one, but since they were, half sisters or something, his name was Cody. And then
why do I remember?
You would totally, and Here's the thing. I have all my memories stored
Yeah.
in a very special format that I call BitTorrent. Which is why
I just need
had
to do that
misplaced all my Monster Vision with Joe Bob Briggs tapes. Turns out this place called Demonoid I just downloaded all of Monster Vision.
Nice.
Somebody has, they're all taped in like SD format, but I have all that. But you can find it. You could probably find that on Retro Junk or something like that, and you would immediately. It's one of those like some people don't remember the
video.
Snorks. Yeah, you just got to find just a clip of it.
I still lose my mind when nobody remembers the Snorks.
Yeah.
I don't know
It's
why.
like the Smurfs in an upside down underwater world.
But it's so
They
much better
breathe
than the
through their
Smurfs.
hats.
So much better than the
I've
Smurfs.
always loved Fraggle Rock.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
The cartoon, but then they'd also do some puppetry at the
They're
beginning
not
and the end.
in the same genre. I'm sorry. To me, the Snorks can fuck off with the Smurfs compared to Fraggle Rock.
Yeah.
Fraggle Rock is the Henson and the Dozers. The Dozers, the guy that makes the crystals that the Fraggles eat. Yeah.
And when
Badass
what
show.
was the main girl Fraggle? That episode where she had to get
I
an
don't remember any of
abortion.
their names.
I mean, it was serious stuff.
Yeah. They were breaking ground.
So Fuller House. So before we get back, we're like so many layers deep.
We're way past 12 Monkeys, but we'll get
12
back.
steps removed from 12 Monkeys. We can't even find Kevin Bacon in the middle because he was never on any of these shows. So 206 Geek.
Yeah.
Those cats are listening to the Northwest Convergence Zone.
Yep.
They find our show on the Northwest Convergence Zone. Start getting some Facebook messages through the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys are on the Northwest Convergence Zone. What's your show like? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, we've been doing it for a while, talking to him. And he's like, I want you on my show. Okay, cool. Where do you live? Marysville.
Fuck off.
Hour and a half drive, no traffic through the Seattle Metro. Marysville, hour and a half minimum.
Yeah.
That's going down the main highway we have. We only have 2 highways here in Washington if you're listening to this somewhere else in the world. And they both suck ass if Seattle's involved.
And they join at weird points. Too.
Yeah.
So it's a weird like helix.
It's like that episode of X-Files where the guy has a conjoined twin that's evil and creeps out at night and eats people. That's the 405 connected to the I-5 because there's water in the way. So we put another highway over there.
Yeah.
And no one ever wanted a lot of people to live here until they did. So we didn't fund the highway. Our logic here in the greater Washington area was, fuck you if you're not us. We're not putting enough parking or lanes in for you to live here.
And then it turns out everybody here is from somewhere else.
Yeah, because it's a wonderful place to live. It's not.
It really
Stay
is.
the fuck away.
I mean, it's horrible.
No, Tacoma's great. We have a highway that goes all the way through our town, keeps all the lanes. And they are rebuilding the interchanges perpetually from now to the end of time. So we have all the lanes, but you can't get into them.
No.
But so these cats go, you can just look at them. They're behind the orange barrels. It's like being at an art museum. Northwest Convergence Zone peeps us to informs this other podcast, Local Cats, 206 Geek.
Oh, that hurt my side.
That we have, we got a show going on. 206 Geek gets a hold of me. They're like, hey, you want to, because I happen to grab the message off the Facebook page because you have a job and shit. So I was looking at the messages and I'm talking to Todd Sellers, main cat there for the thing. You want to come to an episode? I'd love to do an episode. Where are you? Marysville. Like I said, hour and a half away.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys should come down, check out how I'm building this studio. I think you'd get a kick out of it since you're very technical. And I hear that sound is a technical thing of some sort. I'm just putting foam on things, but come on down.
We have to give huge props to the 206
They did it.
Guy. They
midweek.
Fucking came down.
Yesterday. They were here the day before we were taping this.
It was like in the middle of the week. Fuck it. Like
came down, shot the shit, and did a long episode.
In our studio, which is amazing.
Yeah. And they wanted to talk about a lot of things. Nerd things, like Marvel versus DC and stuff like that. And we got around to...
which I feel like I should have been here for that conversation.
Hey, man.
But it's cool. I worked late.
They'll
That's
probably
all right.
drive back down. Or you could drive up there.
I haven't been to Marysville in a while.
Yeah, you could, it's 3 days. You could do some camping on the way.
They're really great podcasts, really good dudes. It's Todd Sellers and Joe
Bellagio.
No, don't fuck up
Mr.
his name.
Papa Giorgio.
Bacard.
Picard.
Bacard. Not with a P, with a B. Like boy, not pussy. I mean,
You
it's
want
not
to say
Picard.
Picard. There you go.
I want to
You
say
nailed it.
Picard.
Yeah.
Just because.
So they both seem to enjoy Fuller House.
Really?
Yeah, and I was. Well, you haven't watched it, but I'd be interested.
Haven't, but
I'd be
I'm
interested to
judging them
watch.
because of that.
Well, I've given you my opinion. I've poisoned.
Yeah.
I've poisoned you against them. Get behind me, Satan. But I tried to watch it.
Yeah.
And I'll admit I was. It's at one of those things where someone's like, "Watch this," and then they're gonna stare at you while you watch it, which is always great.
Yeah.
But Full House was bad.
Yeah.
Demonstrably bad in a lot of ways. It was very formulaic. It was the first show besides Home Improvement where I was like, I could time the show out to how the plot points are going to work every episode just by watching it as a person in my teens.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder how they're going to approach this Fuller House concept because, we all got to get our hipster tacho dollars somehow by exploiting nostalgia for things that were bad and somehow charging money for it, which is kind of what Netflix is doing here.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it, and it's failing. I think it's trying to be self-aware that it's a cheesy remake of a cheesy thing, but it's just not working.
Yeah.
It's just not working for me, and I don't know how long the first episode is. I felt like I gave up at about the 45-minute point.
It is. It can't be that long.
It might be an hour, right? Like you might have got the money and go, okay, we got to make an hour-long episode.
No, that's too long.
Then, okay. Well, then here's the thing: if it wasn't,
it was 23 minutes to begin
wasn't
with,
45 minutes of a pilot of Fuller House, then I was at 7 minutes and hated it so much I stopped watching it. And I tried so hard; I really tried. And if I'm wrong about this, someone should tell me why I just do not get Fuller House. I will say the guy that plays Uncle Jesse.
Who is it?
Uncle Jesse is the guy with the black hair, the musician, not the guy that did the cartoon voices.
I'm trying to think of his real name.
David Duchovny.
That's not it.
He looks exactly as good as he did back then. That's the one joke in the show that hits is when he mentions, for me, when he mentions that he looks absolutely
Doesn't
perfect
age.
still. Yeah. It's like I had my face lifted 11 and a half times. And I don't think that's the case, but yeah, not a big Full House guy. But big props, big shout out to 206 Geek.
Check them out.
They're in talks to get a little syndication going on. We can't talk about that.
We should probably talk about 12
All right.
monkeys.
We've only gotten 4 monkeys into 12 monkeys.
Hey, we haven't even got that.
So
We're like
far.
2.5 monkeys in.
Where did we last leave our protagonist?
He went back after 1990. He went back to the Future because his kids were assholes. So he went
I've got a confession to make. That thing of mushrooms I gave you, those weren't portobellos. You were a giggly puff, Rusty. You are giggling your way to Giggletown. You are riding the giggle train to Gigglesville. 9844 giggle.
So
Tither. I am such a piece of
You're
shit.
a fucking asshole. Stop it. I can't tear up and talk.
9.0 on the giggle scale.
So, you jumped the shark, sir. So he went back to the future. So they got to send him back again after chastising him for just doing a bunch of drugs and fucking a lot of women.
They're dicks to him. They don't even take time to. They're like bad parents. They don't take time to understand what's going on with the child.
They fuck up and sent him to 1990 originally. So this time we're just gonna double down.
They're like, we're so much better at it now.
And they send him back to World War II.
Yeah, in a G-string.
In nothing.
Yeah.
He's in nothing.
He gets back. He gets in the pod this time, right? He gets on the Fifth Element thing, and they zap him through. And then he gets in World War I. Actually,
and the one thing that we forgot to explain in the beginning there is the guy in the cell next to him was named Jose. Dude, he's all scarred up and fucked up. And they had this conversation about how you don't want to volunteer or you don't want to get volunteered. Yeah, for this program. And so when he goes back to World War II. I think it was actually World War I. Yeah, it was World War I. He gets transported back. He's literally dropped into a foxhole or the trenches in World War I.
Yeah.
In France. And there's
but fighting for our side, goddammit, because Bruce Willis is a fucking American.
World War I, we didn't have a side. We
were in World War I.
No, we weren't.
Yes, we were.
No, we weren't.
Yes, we were.
How? We sold a shit ton of ammunition.
We sent troops over there and they fought.
Not one.
Really?
Nope. We were out of it completely. You want to go to task with me on the World Wars? We can do a whole different type of podcast.
No.
We sold arms to both sides in World War I, but we stayed the fuck out of it.
You do not believe we had troops involved in World War
We didn't.
Hmm?
We literally, America did not.
What was Anne Frank talking about then?
That's World War II.
No, I'm joking. I mean,
Okay.
Helen Keller used to give speeches why we shouldn't be involved in World War I.
Yeah, we didn't go. We
never
played both
sent-
sides. We sold.
How was it a World War? Did Canada send a dude?
So
or?
the reason why, well, just because we weren't involved doesn't mean there's not a whole world out there involved in war.
Here's my understanding of the world. There's America.
Yeah.
And others.
Yeah. No.
So if we weren't involved,
After World War I, we did that. We made sure that happened. There wasn't a war without us. But before World War I, it's the reason why America's rich, honestly, besides slavery, because that really padded the banks. But because we're really loaded, now that we're really loaded, or set us off on a good course before World War II.
We're in World War I. We set it off, bitch.
No. Franz Ferdinand did. Have you ever heard the story about how...
yeah, I've listened to that podcast.
Dan Carlin. Great podcast. Yeah, but we didn't touch it. England was deep in it. France was deep in it. Germany was deep in it. But we actually just sold boats and guns to all of them. It was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we just got completely.
Even at that point, we were that forward thinking.
Yeah. Well, we had all the iron, all the equipment to be able to do it. So, yeah.
The American entry into World War I came in April 1917 after 2.5 years of efforts by President Woodrow Wilson to keep the United States neutral during the war. I guess it's just you versus reality.
No. I mean, is that all you got, or did we?
Well, there was a word there that I couldn't pronounce because it's French, and I've been drinking.
So we stayed out of it for the most part. When did we enter? What was the date?
April 1917.
When did it end?
The next day. We're that awesome. I don't know.
It was pretty close.
I don't know, but I'm
were
absolutely
in a very,
positive.
Very tail end ass.
Yeah.
If we were.
No, we're that kind of douchebag that shows up and takes credit for winning.
But up until the point we entered, we sold everybody.
I agree with you.
All right.
Up until the point we entered World War I, we were not involved in World War I. I will agree with that statement.
Fucking John McClane gets sent back to World War I.
And wins it for America like he would. Because when you get John McClane's power increases by how much clothing he is wearing, and he's wearing nothing at that point.
So
he is a nuclear weapon. Yeah. Super Saiyan John McClane.
He gets sent back, and he's deep in the trenches, and he sees his buddy Jose, who apparently, you don't know this at the time, but he got pushed into the volunteer system and sent to World War II.
Also messed up the time travel deal and sent to the wrong
wrong place.
They should make a Terminator like that, where Skynet is trying out the time. It sends like Terminator back to the 20s.
Just
and the leader of the resistance is like an ethnic person whose group didn't exist in America at that time, so he's looking for like Quan or somebody.
I would love
frustrated and bored. Terminator just wanders around the planet.
I would love to see a Terminator go through a sock op instead of an 80s nightclub. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Just shooting people in poodle dresses. That would be pretty great. But yeah, so he gets sent back and he gets shot in World War I. But then he's immediately poor Jose gets left in World War I. He doesn't get shot right back. Bruce Willis, they realize their fuck up, and he gets tossed back pretty much right away. He gets shot and then sent back to the future.
It's like they're adjusting the tracking on their time machine. Because, he just gets moved to where he was supposed to be, But he's also got a bullet in his leg.
Yeah.
But he's Bruce Willis. Doesn't really bother him.
So it cuts, like, it just shows him, it doesn't show him disappearing, but it just cuts from World War I to the doctor. The chick giving a lecture on basically what you just saw. She comments on the fact that this guy Jose, or this foreign military guy, can't speak any French, but he's on the French side and he speaks perfect English after he got wounded. As in like as like those guys. You ever heard about a guy getting a traumatized to the head and all of a sudden he can speak perfect Spanish?
What?
You've never heard about this? It's an actual fact. So somewhere, for some reason,
You didn't know
no.
that a world war involved all the continents except Antarctica.
Yeah, well, penguins are shit at holding missile launchers. I'm just putting that out there. All right.
Yeah, because people won't let me play God. Bunch of pussies.
No, but so she's giving a lecture about this guy that got dropped into a war, and for some reason, when he got injured, all he spoke was English, but there were no English-speaking people in that area. It was only German against the French. So she's giving this lecture about this guy.
They've rationalized.
Yeah, they've completely rationalized it.
But it kind of ties in with Willis's character, who she's met, right?
No, not right at that point.
No, she doesn't make that connection.
She gives that lecture, and it's book signing, and meets the big baddie, the guy that actually is going to have the biological weapon, and he's going on and on about how the human race is overpopulated, blah, 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 while she's trying to sign books.
Oh, that's a great thing, and she just kind of shoves him off.
Yeah.
She actually treats him like every other male character in the movie kind of treats her, which is one thing I really like about this film, is that she is a strong, educated woman.
Yeah.
A little bit earlier than you'd see that in most films.
Yeah.
And everyone's reaction to her is kind of the sexist way you would expect in the early 90s. For people to react to her, they're very contemptuous of her, and she just brushes it off. She doesn't start screaming about the patriarchy or anything. She just does her
She's like,
job.
Fuck it. I'm a power chick, whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah.
This is how the society I'm living in, but her goals seem to be, she really seems like a wonderful mental health professional. Like, she really wants to help him, even when he kidnaps her right after her book signing.
Yeah. So she gets out of her book signing, goes to her car, and this bum basically ransacks her and tells her he has a gun and gets in the car with her, and it's fucking Bruce Willis.
Mm-hmm.
And her last knowledge of this guy was he disappeared out of an air vent that a squirrel could get through
6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he just pops up out of nowhere. So she assumes, fucking stalker, you're following me, blah, blah, blah. He's like, no, I just need you to drive me to Philly. Like, that's it. Like, it's not like he doesn't freak out
Which
about
I always think is more terrifying if your kidnapper is so insane that they don't make any sense outside of their own thought process, but they're also calm. That would be
I don't actually
scary.
want to rape you. I just I need a ride to Philly. Oh, he
like,
actually says,
you don't think I'm pretty?
he goes, I don't have any money. You got to drive. So he gives her a reason, not like a psycho stalker, I'm going to kill you reason. He's just
literally the only person on the planet he knows.
Yeah.
Except for Brad Pitt.
And he goes, have you been following me? And no, he brings up a flyer of the fucking book signing that she was, the lecture book signing. He's like, no, I found this. It was at the front of a store. Like, I'm not that creepy.
Well, this time he's had more time, so he gets sent back to World War I.
Yeah.
And you can have your spaz out there in the trenches of World War I as you deal with time travel, then you're sent, forward when they adjust that tracking. Maybe you're not going to spaz out so much, and he's also got experience.
Yeah.
So, one thing about this movie, and we just can't stop gushing about this movie.
Fuck no.
Is, even though the script is incredibly convoluted, I think the only other time travel script that is as convoluted as this is probably Primer, which makes no sense, but probably makes sense if you're willing to write a doctoral thesis on the movie Primer.
I haven't seen it.
There's a
you don't have to explain
XKCD
it.
comic. No, I'm going to explain people's interpretation of it.
Okay.
Too. There's an XKCD comic that has different flow charts of all the different timelines and time travel movies. And so it's like Back to the Future's got a very simple line chart, and then Terminator's got a little bit more complicated one, and a couple more movies. And at the end, it has Primer, which starts with a line, looks like a ball of yarn. Like, that's it. It's just, it looks like someone threw spaghetti at a wall and traced it.
Nice.
Like, that's how hardcore Primer is. But yeah, this script is, despite being convoluted, incredibly economical, and it just, every time you watch it, you don't find holes with it, you find more things that make sense.
Yeah. It's pretty flawless. Not like Die Hard flawless, but
it's there.
Pretty fucking on point.
I mean, it's not like I need to bungee jump off a building. I'm going to use a fire hose. That would probably totally work, and then it works. But you only get that moment once or twice in a lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean, we've continued to make Die Hards for 2 decades trying to recreate something that awesome. Haven't done it. Have not made that happen.
I don't think you can. I don't think that's the Bible to me.
Yeah.
If you're talking
We're
movies,
running up against a problem like that very shortly.
Yeah.
Which is Heath Ledger just played the greatest Joker we'll ever have and died.
Yeah.
But now we got to have Suicide Squad.
Yep.
So that's going to be interesting to me.
Luckily, at least in the comedy world, there's people that make different renditions of the same characters. So you can go Suicide Squad, and it'll be completely different.
Did you mean to say comedy, or you mean to say
Comics.
acting? Comedy Joker? You've lost me. I'm not.
Comic books?
Comics. Oh, comics. I thought you said comedy.
Did I?
I think so, yeah.
Right.
I was like, what, is everyone just doing the
'cause
Joker?
a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
No, but, like, luckily, like, you got Heath Ledger, who, they didn't really, I mean, the Batman Begins series with the Christian Bale Batman follows a comic book kind of loosely, sort of. I mean, Ra's al Ghul and all that stuff. Definitely.
Those first two are very loose interpretations of Batman. Batman mythos, I believe.
But
the third one, not so much.
The best thing is there's been so many people that do Batman that you can take. Suicide Squad is totally off the fucking rails. It's not like lumped in with the Christian Bale type guys. There's so many different animators and so many different writers of Batman. They fucking gave Kevin Smith a Batman comic book series. You know what I mean? They give whoever, and you can change you can't change how he became Batman, but you can change things in it. You know what I mean?
You could change how he became Batman.
Well, you can, but they don't. They don't really fuck with that.
My parents
too much.
don't listen to me enough. I'm gonna be Batman. That'd be an interesting approach to Batman. He's like just kind of a douche.
My parents died. I mean, they didn't really
they're still
die.
Alive. Yeah,
they just died in my heart.
They're dead to me. Fucking 1% with their white privilege.
So I basically this whole movie continues and nothing else happens and all humans die. Except for a very small percent that live underground and then send Bruce Willis back in the past. Right?
You need to go home?
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's almost
9
a 2
hours
hour
of
podcast.
podcasting too much after a day of work, you pussy. Come on.
I can remember all of this. Like, if you want to go down the litany of what happens, I mean, he ends up at a party with Brad Pitt because
the party sequence is great. Brad Pitt.
It's a really big misunderstanding too, because the Brad Pitt basically starts the 12 Monkey Guys as like a Greenpeace militant.
Well, he only starts
group.
it because Willis came back and threw the idea of 12 monkeys into his head. So we'll do our 2 fan theories.
Okay,
and then we'll wrap this up.
Oh yeah,
this almost 2 hour.
Wait, do I have my own fan theory?
You had one where you thought, and I had the same fan theory watching it today because I go,
yeah,
let's not do a Mortal Kombat, not just yet, but I want to do a Mortal Kombat. It's got Roddy Piper in it and Rowdy. I met Rowdy a few times. He's a cool guy.
Yeah. It's an Immortal Kombat, not Mortal Kombat, not the
Immoral Kombat.
Immoral
Kombat.
That's a porn. That's not. You mean Immortal Combat?
No, I mean immoral.
Immoral.
Like eye gouging and shots to the crotch are legal.
I looked at the wrong. You sent me the wrong trailer.
No,
then.
I'm talking Immortal Kombat.
Immortal
Kombat.
No.
Test your might.
It's not that one. It's the one with Roddy Piper.
Kano wins.
Fucking rails. Okay.
Fatality.
Bestiality.
You're right. We should do some rails.
Okay.
Keep this party train going.
Look.
So, okay.
We're wasting our energy on a movie. Okay.
The theory we came to together, which separately but together, was that Brad Pitt's character is Tyler Durden.
Hands down.
So what happens is they do subvert the apocalypse somehow, because at the end that woman shows up from the future and goes, I'm in insurance, meaning she's going to stop it. And when that happens, then Brad Pitt moves to California from Philadelphia and invents Edward Norton as his shitty spirit animal who works in car repair stuff. Yeah, because he goes on that rant.
I forgot about the insurance lady.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's fucking genius.
Yeah. It seems like they might be on, because you can't trust those guys. You can't trust that panel of doctors, the death panel.
They're
Thanks,
single.
Obama.
At the end of the movie, they're single-serving friends. Shit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, goddamn. All right, I didn't go that far. I just figured I didn't really have a fan theory. I'm like, that's where Brad Pitt got Tyler Durden's character from. That's as far as I went. I didn't get into like the theory of they could be interchangeable.
I'm going to tell you what, my horrible crazy theory.
Yeah.
Better than the Calvin and Hobbes fucking Fight Club fan theory. It makes, I want to love two things. You can love two things. They don't have to be the same thing. It's called being polyamorous. My other, so I have two competing fan theories in my head that I've invented for this movie.
All right.
So the other fan theory is that Tyler Brad Pitt Durden's character does not become Tyler Durden.
Okay.
They subvert the apocalypse,
but
what happens is he becomes that crazy doctor with the religious stuff, and in 30 years since time travel's been invented, Brad Pitt has uncrossed his eye. He's got the shitty fucking doucheball ponytail.
Yeah.
Has the virus, goes back in time, and then assumes the identity of Dr. Peters, and then does the apocalypse.
The guy that actually blows up the Earth.
The guy that actually,
is
like, oh, yeah, I've got samples of viruses in my thing, customs guy.
So, I don't mean to blow your little fan fiction
Neither
out
one
of
of these
here.
makes any sense.
No, the Tyler Durden one totally does. Sorry.
Okay.
But not the... Okay, the guy can't come back in time, and then what he applies at his...
At his father's work.
At his father's work.
Because he knows his dad, all right?
And
right?
makes
he's
up a
like
doctorate in bioengineering.
Did you...
And has no accreditation.
They got a gun into an airport. It's the 90s, dude. Like...
No, the time traveler gave him the gun in the airport.
But the time traveler wasn't even smart enough to give him the gun past the security line.
You're right. That was kind of dumb.
It was the 90s, though. It didn't even cause like a big stink. If you notice when they're
That's
walking,
true.
the security things are like just the same crap you have at a library
Yeah.
to make you not steal books.
Oh, what blew my mind here now that I rewatched it is she actually reserved the airplane tickets, the reason why they went there, in a different name.
And paid in cash.
You can't do either fucking one of those.
No,
you
not
got to show
anymore.
ID,
or you got to be
9
like a
credit
crazy
cards.
Ron Paul supporter who's willing to get in a shouting match with the ticket agent about civil rights and constitutional law that you know nothing about.
You know,
maybe.
if you had your enhanced
But-
ID, this would go faster. Yeah.
You can barely get into Canada anymore. I was tripped out by okay, time traveler, maybe. Well, first of all, they just have metal detectors standing in like a foyer. Not like now where there's like 1,000 guards.
Sorry, I don't mean to.
Just a big area.
No, say it again.
Foyer? And foyer?
Okay.
What? How do you want to
No,
say
no,
it?
no. You go knock yourself out. M. Night Shyamalan, Maling Dong, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just have them. So there's
in the foyer.
very little directing of people towards them. Kind of, you could just kind of walk around it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
There's a good Wolverine comic where he's like, people always ask me how I get through the airport. This was pre 9/11.
Yeah.
And he explains it. He takes a grenade with him and puts it in the bag of the person in front of him. So that they all,
So he just
they all panic and jump on that guy, and he just walks through with his metal skeleton. But yeah, they have the airport security thing, and there's like a very small piece of signage on the airport security thing that says like the 3 things you can't bring, and I remember one of them is toy guns.
Can't have toy guns in the airport.
Yeah, you can't
Or
have
in
toy
the
guns
airplane.
through the. And I also remember we went to Disneyland as children and bought the Pirates of the Caribbean guns,
Mhm.
but my parents were cheap people and they would not check bags, so their solution was put them in the middle of the carry-on bag. A foot-long musket. And this was the 80s. No orange tips.
Yeah.
Like it was a gun designed to
looked
get
like
you
a gun.
murdered by the police.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was a wood and iron. It probably would have functioned as a gun. Now that I think about it, it was
So-
just that close to being a gun.
Did you guys get stopped and like?
No,
finger
no
fucked?
one cared. If you look at the sign in the movie as you're walking through security, it says no toy guns, no actual guns, and no bombs over 6 ounces. If it's over 6 ounces, you have to pour it out in the trash can. Like
You
that's
say
how.
no bombs over 6?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like now it's shampoos, conditioners, and toothpaste.
Have you
But
seen
back in the
those-
day, you could bring a small bomb onto an airplane for your own amusement during the course of the flight.
The last time I was on an airplane, I felt like I was getting away with something because I brought a. Have you seen those credit card knives?
Oh, you got that
Have you
through?
seen- So I had one.
Mm-hmm.
This is when I went to New Orleans, and it was a fold out. It folds out to a legit like kick ass fucking knife, but it's the size of a credit card.
The ones I've seen have like a fishing knife in them. You
No,
pull
no.
it out, and it's got like a little.
It doesn't
deboner.
look like a card. It folds differently like the card itself folds, like the blade
You're
flips out.
making origami motions like it's
an origami knife.
It's a transformer.
It looks like a legit fucking will cut your throat. Like you could take over a plane with it.
Mm-hmm.
Flying from Seattle to New Orleans. Well, first New Orleans or Seattle to Texas, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Texas to New Orleans, nothing. Coming back from Mardi Gras, very hungover. New Orleans to Texas, no problem. Texas to Washington.
They finally got you.
The guy fucking found it,
Mm-hmm.
and he's looking at me, and he goes, that's a knife. I was like, yeah, it was a present for my brother. He goes, you can't have a knife on a plane. I was like, oh, really?
Has that caused some issues in the past?
He goes, he literally says, this is worse than a box cutter. And me, I know the reference that he's making. Wow. Like, I get it.
He means you could take out 4 buildings?
I get the reference, but I look at him, I was like, why would anyone have a box knife on a plane? And the guy,
sir, the only explanation for this conversation is that you are a time traveler.
Because I went the hardcore route and was like, I've never heard of 9/11. I don't know what you're talking about. To a TSA agent who took his job a Texas TSA agent who took his job very seriously. So,
all right, we got to wrap.
He stole my knife.
We got to wrap, but we should talk very briefly about so. This is a great movie. Go see the movie.
Absolutely.
Oh, one of the best. One of the best.
Rent it. Do whatever you got to do.
I don't care if you're 14 and you like to Twitter and Snapchat through a movie. I'll bet you make it 30 minutes into this, you'll watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies that's so well put together that people consider it a fluke. But there's so many good movies from the 90s like that.
Yeah.
There are so many where it's like, why would anyone watch that? It's not, Captain America punches robot face or Superman punches bat face.
It's not just...
Or the Green Lantern hugs the Green Arrow.
It's not just like movie porn. It's not just get off.
It's a piece of art
because it's fun to look at.
That's not a pretentious piece of art.
Yeah.
It's not a lot. Also, I think one of the problems with movies now is a lot of the movies that are trying to be art are trying to be throwbacks to stuff like this, but it just ends up being like a feminist covering her breasts in cat food while screaming about the patriarchy. You know what I mean? Like pretentious 24-year-old bullshit. Like a lot of
What
film.
movie is this?
Huh? Oh, it's on the YouTube. Have you ever watched like a very young person who is wanting to be deep but has had no life experiences to make them deep yet, attempt during the course of their liberal arts degree to be an artist in a room full of people who don't realize it's okay to get up and walk out of this bullshit and do something with your life. There's all kinds of stuff like that. Like, I'm going to fake my water breaking by...
You just lost me at dog food on boobs. That's, that seems very...
It was cat food. So you're not understanding it, but I mean,
right?
Yeah,
dog food would be too male.
It's a piece of art that can speak to the human soul without being a pretentious piece of shit that insists upon itself. Is what I'm saying about this film.
Great movie.
Yeah. And also, I think the TSA does nothing, and George Carlin has a bit about the TSA doing nothing before the TSA even happened.
Yeah.
And it stands to this day. They've never found a bomb.
Yep.
Not once. You know what they have done? If you go to SeaTac right now, SeaTac Airport, and they have the horrible lines. And they'll come up to you like a 24-year-old kid will come up to you and be like, hey, what's up, man? You traveling? Yeah. You gonna blow anybody? No, dick. I'm not going to blow anybody up. Okay. And then you put all your shit in a thing, and it goes through the thing, and then they look at you in the x-ray thing, and you're like, this is weird. And then they pat you down. Then they bring you your stuff back in a little tray that says Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah.
I feel fucking safer. You got monogram fucking trays? Thank you. Oh, tuck me in, daddy. I feel so fucking safe. Tuck me in with your small little hands, Trump.
The only thing that makes me feel safer about nowadays compared to in 95 when this movie was made is chances are you can't just walk through with vials of biological agents through TSA and open them in front for the guy and have him sniff in the virus that's going to kill humanity.
No, you'd have to throw the virus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you got to the checkout.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Why didn't the guy just chuck the vials?
If it was that sophisticated of a weapon, just go to the gate with customs at it. Stand somewhere around there, stomp on it, done.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you
Take the
infect,
stopper out.
you don't have to go to all these places.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck this movie. Really? You don't have to. He's wasting money. Just wander around an airport with your air freshener fucking virus of doom.
Okay, but to be fair, he might have wanted to go to Jakarta and Tokyo and stuff like that.
Just like a last hurrah.
Yeah, 'cause he's
the
gonna
inventor
die.
of YOLO.
He's patient zero. I mean,
I figured
so-
he had immunity, and he's probably one of the doctors, maybe with some plastic surgery.
Wow, you look way too deep into that. No, he's ready to die for his cause. You can tell by the ponytail, by the ginger ponytail. What a douche!
Total douche.
Total fucking douche.
Gingers should not have long hair.
Just not in a
ginger
ponytail.
males.
They can have long hair, just not
Yeah.
in a fucking ponytail or a top knot. Fuck off. That's yeah. All right. Well, that's been 12 monkeys, right?
It's been 12 hours.
It has. It's close to 2 hours. We still have not beat our record with the never-ending story. But
I think we may have with the other long episode we did recently.
You think?
I think
Oh,
so.
okay.
What was one we ran super long on recently?
Yo no sé. I don't remember.
Okay. I don't know either.
And booze.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right.
All right. We love y'all for listening this long.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Don't tell our parents we've been drinking.
My mom knows.
Gaylord comes with a bone of his own. He's a wonderful toy. He's ideal.